A DFS show with Jon Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, everybody? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Time NBA DFS Playbook Show. We have Friday, 6 games here heading into the holiday weekend. James, you were on the playbook. We have the rostership being updated as we speak. Because it was a pretty interesting day, obviously, yesterday with the news and how it was breaking. To no surprise, I don't think to anybody, the highest roster play on the slate coming in Dallas. 4 of the top 5 highest rostered players, all on the Dallas Mavericks here. And then Joel Embiid sprinkled in between there. No surprise there as well. If you have some of the value, you can get the JoJo up top. Should be a pretty fun 6-game slate here.
Yeah, it's a really interesting slate, and we talked about it on the pod last night. This is the softest DraftKings pricing of the year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it's conveniently on the same day that we had news break where the one whole team is out and they're all too cheap. So, Not only is the pricing soft for the top priced, like Joel Embiid is $600 cheaper than his max price. Jokic is only $11,000. We haven't seen him even close to dipping below that in a while.
Right.
And now we have infinite value in Dallas. Who knows what even happens with Seth Curry? That could open up even more value potentially. So, it is funny how that happens. After the masses in droves just talking about how not only did they take away the late slate, but also the pricing was impossible yesterday. 50% of the field played one fantasy point Sam Merrill because there was limited value outside of that, and you couldn't really get to many of the spend ups, and that's why you saw Utah, Detroit, the worst, 2 of the worst teams in the NBA, go off and really that game stack won. So definitely a 360 from yesterday's slate to today. John, you can easily on DraftKings, and we have not said this, I think, once this year, build with the top 2 price guys on the slate comfortably.
Embiid and Jokic playing both.
I have comfortably built with them both in a lineup today.
Jamming in 5 Dallas players?
4 Dallas.
Okay.
And there's obviously some Phoenix value as well that we'll get to. One we didn't really talk about last night that I have grown to like throughout the day. One I think everyone's kind of interested in, Eubanks, but that would not allow me to play both Jokic and
okay.
So we will get to that, but I do think that there is a path to it. I'm not saying it's the path, but it does. I just felt like saying it because we just haven't been able to this year because the pricing has been, elevated on everybody, and we haven't had value like this so early, and have been able to tinker with lineups this early. So it's a fun slate. There's some big game totals. They took off the 10 p.m. games like we mentioned yesterday. The 2 10 p.m. games today, John, 244.5 game total, 247.5 game total to start 2 hours after every other game.
Seems a little fun there. Especially when you have some of the other matchups that are on the board. Atlanta, Miami, we talked about it. Miami, maybe the highest game total they've been a part of all season long. Atlanta just pushing the pace in a lot of these matchups here. And you have Miami without Jimmy Butler. You have Miami with Bam and Tyler Hero really running the show right now in that matchup. Obviously looking pretty good. And then you have Toronto, Philadelphia, where we've seen this game now a couple of times, and Joel Embiid has just absolutely smashed both times in that matchup here. Scotty Barnes on the other side of those matchups has also smashed in those spots here. So it should be a pretty fun slate, a pretty interesting slate to build around. Any of these games that you're just outright avoiding?
I wouldn't say avoiding, but it's really hard in Toronto, Philly to like a lot, right?
Sure.
Because on one side of the coin, Philly's been the best defense in basketball in the month of December. And also, we saw it last game, 90 points came from Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. So, what else could you even want from that team or like from that game. And then Denver, Brooklyn, like Brooklyn is a crapshoot every night.
Especially with Dennis Smith Jr. coming back, right?
DSJ back, and then Denver is a slow-paced team, and like I like Murray, but the minutes seem capped, and Gordon is fine, and Porter is fine, and Jokic is an elite play. So I'm not like avoiding it. It's also like you look at your lineups, and what are you going to max Dallas at the is the ultimate question that you're going to ask yourself to see how much exposure you have everywhere else, because I think there's going to be situations where if you're multi-entering, you could have anywhere from 3 to 5 guys on Dallas tonight. And that's, like I'm almost setting min 3 on Dallas tonight. That would probably be my MME strategy, min 3, because in really any situation, you're going to get Dallas in the winning lineup. I would in almost every instance, especially considering this line is steady at 8.5 for whatever one reason or another. Houston only 8.5 point favorites at home tonight.
We still haven't figured that one out, right? Like it doesn't really feel like it adds up. Here with the way that given who it's in Houston, and then given who Houston has to play. I mean, given who Dallas has to play, it doesn't feel like it makes much sense, right?
No. But Vegas is much smarter than we are, John. So
generally, maybe they're thinking there's some sort of like backdoor covering coming on here.
Maybe backdoor cover that could be accurate. And also, I see through you. Happy birthday, buddy!
Happy birthday, dude! Look at you out here. It'd be a nice little takedown for you maybe tonight. Maybe get in those battle royal streets, and take down some underdog as well. The Prince saying who? The Prince. What's the who to?
I'm assuming who is to the. I think that came in during the Phoenix. Yeah, we'll get there.
All right. Well, let's just get into it now. Then we got 6 games here. Point guard position up at the top. We talked already. There's no Luka. Point guard spot: Devin Booker, Trae Young, Steph Curry, De'Aaron Fox. Your top 4 priced plays on the slate here.
Yeah, and like there's a case to be made for all of them. I wrote one of them up. That was Trae Young. And there's no reason at this point Trae Young should be under 10K moving forward. Over his last 5 games, 60, 59, 59, 63, 68 fantasy points. In slow-paced environments in Houston and Cleveland, slow-paced environment in Toronto twice, has not mattered. The points, 30-plus in all 5. The assists, double figures in all 5. How about 5 straight games of 4 or more rebounds as well? Like, it's just the 4+ made threes. Like there's nothing that Trae is doing to kind of slow it down. When you consider he got to 10.5 last slate, and again back to the soft pricing discussion, $600 cheaper after going for 60 for 5 straight games. So Trae leads the pack. I really do think you can get to any of them. Of the Suns spend ups, Durant is the chalkier one, and I wrote up Kevin Durant today because I like him, but obviously like. You want to be different. Devin Booker has gone for 60 on many occasions this year, 70 actual in a game. Like there's never, he has an infinite ceiling. Steph Curry has the best matchup on the board of anybody. They have the highest implied team total today. They are coming off an insanely great win. And I use great as the word there because that was a big time blowout that, they stole from Boston.
Right.
And that could be something to like kind of take them forwards, but Washington on a back-to-back. And then De'Aaron Fox, we know, was well on his way to 60 in that game if Boston doesn't score 70 third quarter points.
No kidding.
And just blow the doors off that game. So you can play any of them. I still think Trae Young is my top guy there. But you can make a case for any and all, and I'd be perfectly fine with it.
Yeah, I had one underdog battle royal team here that I had the last pick, so I picked on the 6-7 spot, and ended up with Trae Young, Devin Booker on the 1-2 turn.
Pretty good.
I was like, you know what? On a 6-game slate, I'm getting Trae Young, Devin Booker on the swing turn here. I felt pretty good about what could be with that lineup there. Moving on down into the mid tier again, guys. After De'Aaron Fox. Tyrese Maxey's at 87. As we mentioned, he had 35 actuals, part of that two-man 90-point explosion, whatever it was, that 85-point explosion it was that Philly had the other day. Tyler Hero at $8,400 continues to be a monster right out of the jump. Now he has this tremendous pace up spot against Atlanta for him. Fred VanVleet, does he play 40? If this game is only giving an 8-point difference, James, then you're getting 45 minutes out of Fred VanVleet, right? Because he's only not going to play those minutes if this game isn't a 20-point blowout. So if you're telling me that somehow Dallas is going to hang around in this game and keep it within 10, then FEV is going to be on the floor forever. And ridiculous numbers that we've gotten out of him now over the last few games as well. How are you prioritizing the Hero Maxey FVV grouping?
I think Maxey is third, and I don't mean that like I don't think he couldn't break the slate because he can. Mm-hmm. It's just with Embiid doing what Embiid's doing, I think it'd be hard for Maxey to usurp what Tyler Hero could do without Jimmy Butler or what VanVleet has done in back-to-back games, right? And so Hero and VanVleet are slightly above Maxey for me. I lean the Tyler Hero route, and I think that's definitely a contrarian take because no one's really getting to Tyler Hero tonight. And I get that like we've had a really good version of Bam Adebayo, but think about like how these minutes have trended for Hero. He's been back for 2 games after missing over a month, 33-36. And then you go back earlier in the year, he was playing 40 a night, like 4 straight games of like nearly 40 minutes.
Right.
Who's to say that in a competitive game, in a game with a 238.5 total that Miami is never in, that Tyler Hero isn't playing 40 minutes tonight? And he's multi-position eligible, and he's significantly lower owned than Fred VanVleet. Like, I'm perfectly fine getting to Fred VanVleet. That's not what I'm saying because
no, I agree. You look at the matchup for Hero that he just had home against Minnesota, at Orlando. This year, we've generally considered Minnesota, Orlando to not really be the greatest of spots.
No.
Slow-paced teams, actually pretty decent defensively to an extent here. And 10 of 18, 10 of 17 off the rip shooting. The minutes, like you said, is great. Now he gets a poor defensive team in Atlanta, generally considering, and a high pace matchup for them. I mean, listen, I'm agreeing with you. When I saw the rostership and saw where kind of the ownership is here on Tyler Hero, I was like, I'll do that. I'll do some Hero here, no problem.
Yeah, he's gonna be our hero tonight, John.
Ooh, see what you did there. Agreed. Tier below: Jamal Murray, Dinwiddie, Tyus Jones, Chris Paul. Anybody for you standing out above the rest?
Not really. Like, it's all fine. Murray, I think his and my argument on the pod hasn't changed tonight, or it hasn't changed throughout the day. He just suffers from a minutes cap for me when 2 guys above him have 40+ minute ceilings in Hero and VanVleet. So like if you want to get there, just know that you need it in 32 minutes because that's just seemingly where they're gonna keep him. No thanks on Dinwiddie, he's fine. Tyus Jones has been great, but 7K, like that's the back-to-back bump. They also got Landry Shamet back. I understand this Jordan Poole revenge. That I don't care.
You're not a revenge game narrative guy. So
he's also like more expensive than he's been since like
everybody gets a price dump, and all of a sudden Jordan Poole gets a price increase.
That's the back-to-back stuff, right?
Yeah.
But there is Landry Shamet back tonight, and Landry Shamet's been in the rotation as much as we don't really want to believe that. He has been like a guy that's played. So could he cut into those minutes? Sure. Especially if Poole can't make any shots. I would say Chris Paul would probably be the one guy that I would have like interest in the 6K tier. He is the one guy benefiting the most from Draymond being out. 35 minutes in that Boston game. I know there was overtime, so 30 minutes is what CP3 played. But what if Pajemski doesn't play tonight? Right. And then what are they doing? And now Wiggins is questionable. So where they started the second half with Andrew Wiggins, what if Pajemski and Wiggins don't play? Is Chris Paul now in the starting lineup? Is Moses Moody in the starting lineup?
You could.
Yeah. I mean, Masis Mod. Yeah, whatever the Kendrick Perkins name you insert for Moses Moody.
Mm.
One of those two would start in that situation. Like that's just the assumption, right? And then obviously that's bumps to Kuminga, that's bumps to Curry, that's bumps to Clay. Like there's down the line. But Chris Paul 65 is a really fair price. And then really nothing, and then you get the inevitable Jaden Hardy at 43.
Yeah, Hardy is the far and away chalk. At one point earlier today, he was 95% rostered.
Yeah.
That has since come down slightly. He's now like 80% rostered, but yeah, Jaden Hardy is where the world is.
Just updated that, by the way.
Yeah, the world is getting to here today. We know he's a bucket. We talked about last year for those of you who have followed us along. We are not new to the Jaden Hardy scene. We've been excited for whatever opportunities he gets to play more minutes here. Going over to the shooting guard position, again, a lot of multi-position eligibility, and it's a small slate, so we touched on a lot of these guys already at the point guard position, but some we haven't discussed. DeJounte Murray, Cam Thomas here, Klay Thompson, Bogdanovich, the way he's been playing right now, out of his mind. Thoughts on this mid-range of shooting guard?
Yeah, no thanks on DeJounte. We know he has a ceiling, but it's hard to have a ceiling when Trae Young has a ceiling and Bogdanovich has a ceiling every night. Like it's just DeJounte is just going to be what he's going to be. Cam Thomas obviously always has a ceiling, but the first guy I got to was Klay Thompson. I talked to you about it on last night's stream where I don't know if I tweeted if he might be back. It seems like he's pretty pissed off about the contract negotiation talk being leaked and how he no longer has a contract on the table because he's been playing poorly. No coincidence. Last 4 games, 24 plus actual points, 38 plus DraftKings points. And he's made 4 plus threes in all those games, 40+% in all of those games. Like that is Klay Thompson, right? Like that, the last 4 games is the Klay Thompson we've seen for years and years and years. And now you're telling me you're getting, one of the best spots or the best spot on the board. Washington, John, in the month of December, first in pace, last in defense. Dream spot for Golden State.
Do they have any chance of holding this game down, though? I guess
that's the problem. That's the problem, right? Now, the thing with Golden State that we always have to consider is we've seen 50 actual from Curry in 3 quarters. We've seen Klay score that 40-point quarter against the Kings, that one where he had 6 dribbles or whatever. I'm not saying that we're in that realm of when the Warriors were at their peak, but hey man, Klay Thompson's looked really good lately. So I definitely am a little worried, but also, and I think this is a talking point. Okay. So you have Klay Thompson, $6,900 in the spot that he's in.
Yeah.
The whole field is going to $6,100 Tim Hardaway Jr., right? At same eligibility as Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson is $800 more, obviously. I'm not saying Tim Hardaway can't go out there and make 10 threes tonight. I'm not. But how is Tim Hardaway getting his own shot tonight? Who is setting Tim Hardaway up tonight?
Right.
When he has Luka Doncic on the floor or when he has Kyrie Irving on the floor, 2 very good and willing passers, right? Who is Jaden Hardy? The guy setting him up?
Okay.
Who is a scorer for? I'm just saying, Tim Hardaway is a guy who needs kind of be spoon-fed the basketball. He's not a guy that's going to really create his own shot.
Right.
I am willing in a tournament where you look at you're taking stands sometimes against chalk, right? Mm-hmm. Tim Hardaway is 50% owned in our latest projection on DraftKings. Klay Thompson is 7% owned for $800 more. I'd be willing to spend $800 more in an infinitely better spot for Klay on a team that may be even shorthanded as well, right? If there's no Podziemski, no Wiggins, and no Draymond already, I'd be willing to get leverage on going to Klay Thompson over a Tim Hardaway at 50%. I'm not saying I'm fading Tim Hardaway. I wrote him up. He's in my core plays. He's 50% owned, shooting guard, small forward. He averages 1.5 fantasy points per minute in a very small sample without Luka and Kyrie. But I'm just saying, there's a path to Tim Hardaway being the one burnout
Sure.
Of the Mavs chalk, because he's the most expensive and he's the most kind of reliant upon everybody else's like passing and getting him the ball.
What do you do if Oubre at the same place? Melton's questionable. There's some depth pieces there, obviously questionable. He played 29 minutes. I understand we went over this. Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey taking all the shots. Like, what is left for Kelly Oubre? But I gotta get your thoughts here because the man played, double-digit shot attempts the previous 3 games. I mean,
Yeah.
Does he just get more going tonight, or what do you think?
I mean, I said this in the Discord. Our good buddy Sticks asked me this question, or asked this question in general, and I basically said what you just said. It's just hard to like. I'm not saying Embiid, and it's hard to like assume Embiid and Maxey are going to score 85 to 90 points every night, but it can happen. I mean, Embiid's gone for 50 actual twice in 6 games. He's gone for 40 plus in 4 or 5, right? So like, if they score 80 points again, how much does that leave? Is Kelly Oubre the only other person scoring tonight? I don't know.
Yeah.
6,100. I think it's a fade for me, but I understand. I mean, I mentioned the other day, right? Like I love you. Great to see the minutes. Great to see him start. If Melton's out, you assume he just starts again. Maybe he starts anyway because Batum's out. I know Bob Cove's back. We'll see how they handle that starting lineup, but hard for me to really get excited about 61 Oubre when, Joel Embiid objectively is the best play of this, probably like the best play of the slate and like in the NBA right now. And if he goes for 50 and Maxey goes for 30, there's only one ball.
Agreed. Koulibaly, Grayson Allen, Eric Gordon, anybody down here?
Not really. I would say I like the Phoenix guys aren't terrible. Eric Gordon or Grayson Allen, 33 minutes each of the last 2 games, 28 and 26 fantasy points is like solid at his price. Eric Gordon is probably going to approach 30 minutes, and 5,200 is a pretty good price. He just needs to make his shots.
Right.
They're both okay. Obviously the question of the night is Seth Curry going to play? Because he is questionable. He's $3,700, and he's the 3rd highest owned play of the slate at 3,700. Like, we've also seen him start, right? Like, everyone's playing Jaden Hardy. Who's to say Seth Curry isn't starting tonight over Jaden Hardy? And Jaden Hardy's coming off the bench, right? So I would say anything else for me would be Seth Curry, but we have to wait and see if he's even playing or not.
Okay. Small forward. Scotty Barnes is up here at $8,800. As we mentioned, 2 games against Philly. He's averaging 46 fantasy points against them on the year. You have Mikal Bridges. We've talked Clay already. Denny's coming off of a double-double. I don't know if that's something that is repeatable for him or not. Michael Porter Jr., Jaime Jaquez. I mean, again, smaller slate, not a lot of great options. You can play Hardaway here. You can play Klay Thompson here. Maybe that's the path. You plug a different shooting guard in and play some of the shooting guards at small forward we've already talked about.
Literally no interest. I wish I could just exile. You know what? I wish FanDuel drop score let me drop small forward today.
Okay. You got Derrick Jones here. I guess Derrick Jones is your chalk tonight.
Yeah,
right?
it's Derrick Jones is a small forward I'd use. 5,300. He's played a lot of minutes lately outside of the Denver blowout. 30 plus fantasy points in 2 of 3. So it's Derrick Jones for me. Obviously, Kuminga at 56 is really, really appealing. We'll see how Steve Kerr handles his rotation after what happened in that Boston game. Like, there's no reason to think he should remove Kuminga from the rotation, even with Wiggins in. Like, They should find more minutes for Kuminga. If there's no Wiggins, all systems go for Kuminga at 5,600. We've seen him play in a lot of blowouts too, which could happen tonight, right? I like Kuminga 56. And Derrick Jones would be like the 2 other names.
Would you get to any of these other Phoenix guys?
No. Okay. No. I mean, Okogie is questionable. Nasir Little was like, it's like, look at all these minutes, guaranteed going to play 19 minutes against Portland with no Josh Okogie. It's just, it's such a fluid situation.
Agreed. Value down here again. Anybody that we haven't discussed or you want to get to?
I want to get to power forward.
All right, talk about it then. Kevin Durant up at top.
Yeah, it's Katie's world, and we're living in it. Coming off one of his best games of the year, he's one of the 4 spend ups I wrote up tonight. Behind 2 centers, Trey and Durant. On the year, without Beal and Nurkic, 35% usage, 1.45 fantasy points per minute. It's essentially him and Devin Booker are the Spider-Man meme. Like, they essentially have the same exact usage, same exact fantasy points per minute. The field is playing Kevin Durant tonight, which is why in the write-up I was like, they have the same averages. If you want to play Devin Booker, play Devin Booker, right? Like, you're going to get a guy who has similar upside to Durant at lower ownership. But power forward is obviously, in terms of like position scarcity, forward stinks tonight. So getting to Durant makes a lot of sense. I mentioned you could play Embiid, Jokic. You could definitely play Embiid, Durant, or Jokic, Durant, like very easily tonight. Coming off 40 actual, 54 fantasy points, cheaper than Devin Booker on the same team. So it's really, really hard not to like Kevin Durant sub 10K tonight. In like maybe the best competitive high priced game, like the Warriors Wizards is 247.5, right? But it's an 11.5 point spread. Phoenix Sacramento 244.5, 3.5 point spread.
Mid-tier options for you. Anybody to you sticking out? Keegan Murray, Jabari Smith coming off just a monster performance. I guess if Tari Eason ends up being out, Jabari becomes a bit more appealing based off the run that he got there. Sadiq Bey, Pascal Siakam. Anybody here in the mid-tier?
Yeah, so I actually omitted Jabari Smith from the playbook as a TBD.
Okay.
Because if Eason plays, like we've seen Jabari Smith like low 20s minutes, right? Mm-hmm. It's like super hard to project the front court in general, right? Like even our boy Şengün's getting demolished by the Tari Eason minutes. So
what did Şengün play the other day? Şengün played 26 minutes still, huh? So
because he was getting abused by Ngannou pick and roll. Like
that's true. Yeah.
He couldn't stay on the floor. And I'm not saying you have to worry about that with Dwight Powell tonight.
You shouldn't have to worry about that with Dwight Powell.
Şengün should be fine here. Yeah. Like with and so like I'm very TBD on Jabari Smith tonight.
Okay.
Which I think is fine because you're going to have 6 guys from that game in your lineup at the 8 o'clock window. So like you'll be able to adjust things how you want. Obviously I'm in on Smith if Eason plays, but 7,100 if Eason, or I'm in on Smith if Eason sits. Out
in on Eason if Eason plays.
Yeah. I'm probably out on both if Eason plays at 6K. Just a little,
I don't know. I think Tari Eason would destroy the second unit of Dallas.
That's fair. Well, they're all playing the second unit. He might be playing the third unit.
That's what I mean. The front court's at least healthy for Dallas here. So the back court, that's not
semi healthy. No Derek Lively.
No Derek Lively. Yeah.
And Kleba. No Kleba, no Lively. Like
I think Max Kleba like all year though.
Yeah, but Maxi Kleba, massive upgrade over like Rashawn Holmes.
Any Aaron Gordon interest?
He's fine. If you land on Aaron Gordon, it's a solid price.
Yeah, what's your next play here?
Kuminga I mentioned. I don't mind Ngannou. The minutes are obviously very up and down. I am on the fence about Grant Williams, much like I'm always on the fence about Grant Williams, but he's getting a lot of ownership. He is $4,700.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cheap, and he's playing a lot of minutes right now. He's played 30 plus in every game over his last 5, outside of the Denver game in which they got torched. So we know Grant Williams has a very low floor. 4,700. If that game stays competitive, he's locked into 30 plus minutes.
Have we hit your Phoenix guy you want to talk about yet?
He's almost here.
Is he a power forward or is he your second?
He is. Well, he's both.
Is he Matu?
He is. He has Matu position eligibility. And look, I think there's a world tonight that he starts and Eubanks comes off the bench.
Okay.
We've seen this a lot right? We've seen like a lot of teams just keep guys on the bench in their roles. And I even looked it up last year in starts with Drew Eubanks for Portland. And I know it's a different situation, but he was never extended 25 minutes per game as a starter for Drew Eubanks. If the split is 25-23 and it's Eubanks and Metu, Chimsy Metu is a better play because he's $1,000 cheaper with multi-position eligibility. And we saw him get extended and start in that Sacramento game, 24 fantasy points. Start, get extended in the Golden State game, start 23 fantasy points. Like, if you get 23 to 24 fantasy points out of a 3,500 Chimsy Metu, who potentially starts in a game with a 243 total, sign me up for that. Like, that's an elite value. Now, there's always a scenario where he doesn't start and you have him in that forward spot at 3,500 for a 10 o'clock window, and you're probably stuck unless you're like playing multiple pieces in that window, right? Like, unless you have Golden State exposure or you have a Durant or a Sacramento guy. Like, obviously it depends on your exposures, but
wouldn't you at that point maybe just leave him in your util and hope that there's some sort of like Landry Shamet is your pivot?
Yeah. Right? I mean, it depends on what you're doing, because if you're double centering, like I said, like in a world I'm playing Jokic and Embiid, Metu is a punt that I'm using in my forward slot, right? Okay. And I can't do anything about that because Jokic and Embiid are the first 2 games of the night. Like, there's no pivots off that.
Well, let me ask you then: does Shamet make it more sense as a pivot as your punt play then, given sort of the run that he has gotten when in the lineup for the Wizards over guessing on Metu?
I know what you're saying. Maybe, but he's also missed time, like 20-something days with a rib injury. No Nurkic. Metu's been in the rotation, right?
Yeah,
like
he got 15 minutes that last game, right?
Yeah, so he got 15 minutes. It's like in his couple of starts, he's played mid-20s minutes and has given us mid-20s fantasy points. Like, that's a big fat W if you get that at 3,500. So I have really warmed up to the idea, if he's starting, to run him over Eubanks. Like, I would just take the savings and run with that, especially with the multi-position eligibility.
How are you handling Jackson Davis here?
I am so confused on what to do with him. I would say he's one of the trickier plays, because I'm looking you look everywhere, right? Like, as a DFS player, like, I set projections. I'm looking around, like, seeing what other sites setting projections, seeing where Jackson Davis, no ownership whatsoever, no one playing him, not a soul, maybe one person playing Jackson Davis. We know he's going to have at least one shift, right? Like, one shift guaranteed. That's what he's been at least playing over the last few games, like 7 and 5 minutes before these random blowout or random games. Now there's blowout factor. He'll play. He just flat out played better than Looney and Saric last 2 games. That obviously benefits him. And like you saw at the end of that Boston game, like Steph Curry was like chest bumping him, like super pumped for him. He's almost coming off back-to-back double-doubles. Like, he's been great. But it's Steve Kerr. And it hasn't mattered, right? Like, Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody were like the 2 highest summer league scorers and can't even crack 20 minutes a night for this team.
Right.
And like they were lottery picks, both of them. Like, what do you have to do in Steve Kerr's rotation to get minutes? It's a tournament play only. And John, he is $6,100 on FanDuel.
That's a lot.
It is a 0% chance you play him over there unless he's starting.
Is Dennis Smith Jr. at all an interest to you? I mean, the man has been a monster fantasy point per minute guy.
I understand getting there because he has been good, but at what cost? Does that remove like a Dallas guard from your equation who probably just, based on like rotation, have an infinite higher minute ceiling than Dennis Smith Jr.? It's fine. It's fine, right? It's not a priority, but I think it's fine.
All right. Want to build a
lineup? We didn't talk about center.
Oh, I thought we did. All right, Joel Embiid. There we go. I thought we did. My bad. Thought we did.
Yeah. He's the best player.
Isn't that what we're talking about? Are we just talking about one guy here?
Yeah, I mean, look, Jokic had a really, really, really good game against Toronto the other day. And he had 6 assists is kind of, I mean, that's low, right? I mean, it's a low number for a guy who averages 9 assists per game. So if he triple doubles there, you're talking about 2 guys coming off 70 bombs, right? I understand why you would consider.
Who faces Toronto tonight?
I do. I absolutely understand it. And it's not even like there's a giant gap in like discrepancy when it comes to ownership. Our latest ownership run at fantasyalarm.com, Embiid 32, Jokic 24.
Yeah.
Like
it's actually now because they're closer in price than they've ever been.
It is, for sure. And I prefer the chalkier Embiid. There's no doubt. I'm just saying, y'all must have forgot.
Right.
Nick, I mean, we're just enamored with what Embiid's doing, not because Jokic is like a bad play. Jokic is still an elite play.
Agreed. All right, so obviously the top 2 guys are here. How much interest in Sabonis do you have tonight, knowing what could be his matchup, right?
Yeah.
A Eubanks Matu rotation here. I mean, Nurkic has done a really good job at keeping opposing centers off the glass this year, except for the first matchup here where Sabonis had 17 boards.
Except for that one time.
But for the majority of the season, centers have had a tough time grabbing their rebounds against Nurkic here. Feels like a pretty solid, maybe even ceiling game for Sabonis here.
I think the only thing we ever worry about, it's something that you pointed out when I was like gung-ho about playing him. I think it was in the OKC game. The scoring, right? It's just like we know the peripheral stats are always going to be there. He's always going to threaten a triple-double. When he scores 20 with those triple-doubles or approaching triple-doubles, you get like the 50, 60 bombs.
Right.
But that's not always the case. And then De'Aaron Fox has 38. You're like, oh, right. That's why Sabonis only has 16 tonight. So I like him. I'm perfectly fine. Another scenario where I think point guard and center are like the clear-cut best 2 positions on the board because like Bam at 92, Bam was playing as well as like almost anybody earlier before his injury, right? Like earlier in the year. He was best he's ever played. And I don't think anyone's going to play him. So, like, you can get to any of these 4 guys.
60 against Atlanta earlier this year.
You can get to any of these 4, and you'd probably be happy with that result.
Agreed. Do you consider Şengün tonight if Eason's ruled out?
Consider him.
I mean, there was a run for a bit here this year where we were like, can't not play Alperen Şengün, and then something happened. I don't know what happened. He fell off like a little bit. I mean, he still gave you back-to-back 40 fantasy point games here, but 23, 33, 34, you're like, where's the minutes and where's the production come from?
Yeah, and I think that's you raise a valid reason. Tari Eason just being what Tari Eason.
He's been closing games during the last 4 or 5 games.
If Jabari or Şengün are struggling or in foul trouble, Eason just plays over that person, right? So if Eason's out, I could see myself getting to some Şengün.
Okay. Other mid-tier options here. You have Capella, obviously in a little bit of a tough spot against Bam. Claxton, Gafford, Love, Pirtle, Agonku. Anybody down here?
I'll just give a shout out to Daniel Gafford in his game last night.
Ceiling of ceilings.
6 blocks, 4 steals, 6 fouls. The full Daniel Gafford experience on display, 16 and 8. Not that he's going to do that again tonight, but I don't think there's anything in the mid tier, honestly, John. I think it's a waste of time. No offense to these guys. Like if someone clicks on any of these names, like so be it. But like you spend all the way up, or you go down to Eubanks or Matu, or if Jackson Davis somehow found his way into the starting lineup, and I think you just move on.
All right. Value. Same thing.
Eubanks,
Davis, Matu, Eubanks.
Yeah, those 3.
All righty. We're just plugging JoJo in here.
Yeah.
Okay. And then how many Dallas guys?
A lot. Hardy for sure. I think we play Seth Curry until we're given a reason not to play Seth Curry.
Okay.
At 3,700.
Derek Jones.
and Derek Jones. You want? Yeah, let's just do max 3 right now. Obviously, there's, if you want to play 4, you can play 4, but I think max 3 is good.
All right, what's our next move from this position here?
I hate power forward. I hate forward. Forward.
I mean, you said you wanted to play Durant.
I do want to play Durant. And you can play Durant. Like it's a fine. If you do, you are now basically getting into like the Matu range. If you want to do like the double spendy thing, you're probably gonna plug Matu because you also if you don't want to do double spends, instead of Durant, you play Tyler Hero at guard, right? Where no one's playing Tyler Hero.
Sure, I don't mind that. Hero 84. Where is he? There he is. So 57 power forward here.
Kaminga.
I'm good.
2 if you wanted to, or Grant Williams if you did want to go 4.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's see. It's 57 for a guard and a forward and a center here, or a util rather. What's our util spot looking like? I don't want to go all the way down, but
plug my 2 and see what we got.
8K. 8K util is Siakam.
Happy tier.
Not a great tier. No. I feel like we did this yesterday too when we were going through this. We're like, not great pricing. If we did THJ 54 util, random Mike Muscala price up.
Yeah, classic double back to back pricing.
Kind of a tough. You gotta plug some guys you're not in love with, right?
What about Clay?
The Clay here at the forward.
And I think it's 40. Yeah, you can play Eubanks there.
All right, that works. Where's Eubanks at?
45.
45. Yeah, I can do that. I can live with that lineup. What do you think?
Yeah,
done for you?
Yeah, I mean that is a build.
That's a build, yeah. That's one way to go about it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good build. Again, like you have to make a decision on Dallas, obviously. I think you and I both kind of agreed on like min 3 Dallas, probably max. I would max 5 Dallas if you're multi-entering.
Sure.
That you have to play Matu. I just don't think there's another option.
There's always another option here. Don't you worry about it.
39.
I understand it.
Like there's
always another option.
Oh, no.
There's your triple spend, everybody, if you want to go that way. Super low floors.
Your triple spend.
It's doable. Never know. It's possible. All right. Let's see what we could do here. Any other thoughts? Any other lineup combinations? Any other questions for anybody in the chat? You guys want to talk?
No, like this is our last live stream of the week.
I know.
Christmas on Monday. We're gonna have a podcast.
Slate. Yeah, well, the podcast for the Christmas slate.
Yeah, we're gonna have our listener league on Christmas Day. If anyone wants to get a part of that, we'll build a contest out and constantly put it in Discord and stuff throughout the weekend.
Yeah, 100%. I guess that's it then. We'll be in the Discord if you guys have any questions. Obviously, lineup block comes out at 7. Any more news that happens, we'll be here for you. Scroll's been down at the bottom. If you haven't already signed up, we have our holiday sale going on right now. FantasyTime.com/Santa, promo code Santa. First month is $4. Usually it's $39.95 or something like that. So you get the first month for $4, $1 a week for the first month of our month-to-month package. And if you haven't, if you don't like it, obviously you can cancel, but I can't imagine you won't love it. So try us out for a month. Get access to all premium content in our premium Discord there for just $4. So again, FantasyTime.com/Santa, promo code Santa there to get the discount. I'll throw it in the chat as well. FantasyTime.com/Santa. For those of you who want to click on something, you can do that as well. We'll check it out. Is Embiid 12.9? Is it too much on FanDuel? No, there's no price that's too much for JoJo right now being town. Play him. If you got him, For now, guys, we'll catch you later in the Discord. Good luck tonight.